Hey everyone, Pastor Wes here with you Wednesday night. Hope your week's going well. We're continuing talking about perseverance and growing in God. And I'll come back to Hebrews chapter 12, and I want to read the first verse, or at least part of it, where it says, "And let us run with perseverance the race that is set before us," the race that is marked out for us. I love that word race. I'm very competitive. I'm competitive in just about everything that I do. To race means that everyone is an active participant in carrying out the mission that God has called us to do. We're all ministers. Some are full-time, some are part-time, but we're all ministers of the gospel. What He's called us to do is to go into all the world and preach the good news. And so we've got to learn that perseverance for us means that we stick with what was started by God, what He planted in us, regardless of the struggle. We don't give up. We don't back away. We don't quit just because things get hard. In fact, being part of the body of Christ means that things are going to get hard because we are passing through this world. We're not of this world. But there will be a reward. There will be a payoff in the end, and not just for us, but for all of those who are connected to us. That word race, though, it's not what we appear or what we think as it appears. In the Greek, it's the word agon. It's what we get the English word agonize from. And it's a word that means the fulfillment of God's mission and the fulfillment of God's will for the church, for us as believers, is going to require a great amount of determination on our part. It's going to be very demanding. It's not going to be easy. And it's something that requires patient endurance. And so when we read the next couple of verses in Hebrews chapter 12, we find these words. It says, "Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and the perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before Him endured the cross, despising its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God." Now, I want you to pay attention to this last part of these verses in chapter 12, verse 2 through 4. "Consider Him who endured such opposition from sinful men, so that you do not grow weary and lose heart." Consider Him. Consider Jesus. What the Bible is saying to us here is that Jesus is our picture of perseverance. He's the one that we look to. He is our measuring stick. We don't look to people. We don't measure our lives to other people. Jesus is always the measuring stick for every single thing that we do, because we're trying to become more like Him, not like our neighbor. We're not trying to become like our spouse. We're not trying to become like our pastor or whoever. We're trying to become like Jesus. And so He is what we measure our life up to, and we look to Him and we measure our faith up against all that He said and all that He did. He didn't give up. Despite the shame, despite the ridicule, despite the beating that He took, everything, the opposition, the obstacles, He didn't give up. He never quit. He finished the race. And so we see also that perseverance is something that requires us to be able to see the big picture. Looking at Jesus will inspire you to stay in it for the long run. If you look to people, you'll never be inspired to stay in it when things get hard. But if you look to Jesus, you'll always be inspired to stay in it when the struggles hit, no matter how hard it is. And so to not grow weary, to not lose heart, means not giving up, not going away when times get hard or when it gets hard to serve the Lord in the midst of all that's going on in the world. But stay in the path, stay in the mission that God has given us. Our perseverance to reach people is done with grace. And if we do it with grace, it will enable more and more people to pour their hearts out to the Lord because of grace. And so we can't afford to lose heart. We cannot afford to grow weary, because we have people that we need to come in contact with and lead them to the Lord. And Paul says this in 2 Corinthians 15:58. "Therefore, my dear brothers, stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourself fully to the work of the Lord, because you know your labor in the Lord is not in vain." Your labor in the Lord is never in vain. And so my challenge as a child of God and a believer in Jesus Christ, and your challenge as a believer in Jesus Christ, comes down to this: let us not grow weary. Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Until next week, I hope you have a great rest of your week. Happy St. Patrick's Day tomorrow. I love you. God bless you.